You're good. Well, we all know why we're here. We're being given an opportunity to create the change that our district desperately needs in its congressional representation. We have the opportunity to elect a candidate who has walked the same streets that you have walked, faced the same struggles that you have faced, and dedicated his life to protecting and serving that community. He is a problem solver who is not afraid to stand up for what he knows is right, and that man is Lynn Coleman. But we know it's going to be a lot of hard work, and it's going to be a long fight. But despite knowing that, Lynn stood up and said, yes, I will take on this fight because it's the right thing to do, and I'm the right person for the job. So are you going to stand with him? Well, I knew that you would, and that's because we're proud. We're proud of what we believe in. We're proud that we believe in equality and justice, fairness. We believe that the rights of working families are not trumped by billion-dollar corporations. We believe that access to health care should not be determined by the size of your bank account. We are proud that we have a senator in Joe Donnelly who believes in fighting for working families. And perhaps most of all, we are very proud that our leading presidential candidate is not Donald Trump. We have seen how the other side operates all too clearly, especially recently. They prey on our fears. And when they do that, we will be brave. When they seek to divide us, we will unite. And when they attack the weak, we will stand up and be strong. Amen. And I'm here supporting one of the strongest, most righteous men that I've ever met, somebody I've looked up to since the day that I met him. Our community, our state, and our country needs Lynn Coleman. So I plan on working my tail off this year to see that he gets elected, but he's going to need more than my help. He's going to need more than your faith. He's going to need more than your trust. He's going to need more than your vote. He's going to need that which is most precious to you, and that is your time. There are literally hundreds of thousands of people in this district that are going to need to hear his message, and he can't do it alone. That means we need you on the phones. That means we need you knocking doors, dragging your friends and family and neighbors out and telling them to vote because it is important. And if we can do that, then we can get Lynn Coleman elected as our next congressional representative. And if we can do that, we will turn the entire state of Indiana Democratic blue. Yeah. So I have the honor of introducing the man that's going to be leading that charge across the state of Indiana, and that is our Indiana Democratic Party Chairman, John Zody.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is a great crowd. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out today during the lunch hour. I know there are a lot of local elected and former elected officials here, and I'll not start naming you because I'll miss somebody, but I do want to make sure I recognize a few people that are here. I can't do my job without the leadership of a committed group of Democrats who help lead the state Democratic Party, and Carol McDaniel, our 2nd District Chair, is here with us today. State Senator John Broden, who probably left the State House, got in his car and drove up right here because the Senate just adjourned. Senator John Broden is with us here somewhere. Senator Broden. And my friends and political family and mentors, Governor Joe and First Lady Maggie Kernan, are here with us today. So. And I'm always proud to be working with, and being led by your hometown United States Senator Joe Donnelly, who's here with us today. When we think about Joe Donnelly, we think about common sense leadership. That's what he gave us when he was your member of Congress from the 2nd District, and that's what we need. We are being governed by an out-of-control ideology in Indianapolis. We are being governed by an out-of-control ideology in the House of Representatives that focuses its time on taking things away and doing things that are going to end programs, end health care, do things that aren't going to move this country forward and, in fact, move it back. We have a leadership in the House of Representatives that focuses on shutting the government down instead of keeping it running for those who need it most, like our veterans, our senior citizens, our children. We're at a youth center. This country has to move forward, and you only do that by electing people with common sense approaches to government, and that person is Lynn Coleman. He has spent his career serving his community and serving other people, and that's what it takes to be a member of the United States Congress. Service, and service to other people. Constituent services, taking care of the people that you know, that you love, that you live with, and who voted for you to represent them in Washington. And Lynn Coleman is going to get that job done through common sense leadership, not ideological leadership for the 2nd District. Whether it's organized labor, and if you're from organized labor, there's a lot of you here today representing the interests of organized labor in the House, representing the interests of agriculture, of, again, veterans, college students, all the people that make up the good people of the 2nd District. Lynn Coleman has the common sense leadership to get that job done. And when we talk also about common sense, we've got a lot of common sense people here in South Bend and North Central Indiana. It's my honor and privilege to represent, or to introduce to you one of our bright young shining star mayors in the state of Indiana. My good friend, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, is going to come up next. So.
Good afternoon. I can't wait to tell you why I am proud to stand with Lynn Coleman as he launches his candidacy for the 2nd District. As you know, as mayor, a lot of the times I don't have to talk about Republican, Democratic stuff. I don't have to talk about Congress or Washington. To be honest, I sort of enjoy it. And that's one thing I'm sure Lynn will miss from his days as a leading problem solver in the city. Because in the city, we just get stuff done. And that's what he did as a leader in the city of South Bend. You know, South Bend's on a roll right now. I think everybody I meet talks positively about where South Bend is headed. And that is due in no small part to the leadership of Mayor Steve Lickey's leadership team and Lynn Coleman, who was at the heart of that leadership team during some of the toughest times the city ever knew. If people don't know that, it's only because Lynn Coleman is not the sort to draw attention to himself. But now is the time that we make sure there's a spotlight on him so people understand the quality leadership we're prepared to send from South Bend to the United States Congress, where it is desperately needed. Because the reality is, if you care about the city, you have to care about what's going on in the Congress. I may be relieved that I don't have to do the kind of work that our great senator and soon our next Congressman Lynn Coleman are going to do, but the reality is we need the best, the very best out there doing it, because what's going on in Congress is hurting us. It's hurting South Bend. We got a Congress that is more interested in shutting the government down than getting something done. We got a Congress that just yesterday acted to repeal the Affordable Care Act and kick 20 million Americans off health insurance. And they did it knowing full well that the instant it hit the president's desk, it was going to get vetoed, which meant they were literally wasting everybody's time on purpose. Look up how South Bend's Congresswoman voted. If you feel the need to look it up, you could probably guess. On the most pressing issues of the day, from the need for comprehensive immigration reform to gun violence. And let me tell you something else about Lynn Coleman. One of the reasons I admire him going back to when he came to visit and speak to my high school class. And he talked about what motivated him to be in public service. And he talked about wanting to save kids' lives. Congress gets an F when it comes to acting in order to save kids' lives in cities like South Bend. And that would not happen if they were listening to people like Lynn Coleman in the halls of Washington. So if you like where South Bend's headed, and you care about the future of this community, I hope you will join me in standing with Lynn Coleman, a true son of South Bend, and somebody that generations of young people have come to admire. Somebody who has walked the walk when it comes to problem solving and making our community a better place, and give him a chance to join colleagues like Joe Donnelly and help make our country a better place. And now I have the privilege, speaking of problem solving, of introducing to you somebody who is recently found to be one of the most inclined to reach across the aisle of anybody in Congress. Somebody who actually believes in getting stuff done. Somebody who will have big shoes to fill in the sense that he used to be our congressman. And we're proud to have him in the United States Senate, but we sure do miss having somebody with the common sense of Joe Donnelly in the United States Congress, which is why we can't wait to send Lynn there to fill those shoes. Please join me in welcoming our great hometown United States Senator Joe Donnelly.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, I look at my friend Sean Coleman, and he would understand this better than anybody. I laughed and leaned over and said to the governor and Mayor Lickey, I said, you know, nobody introduces me as that young guy, Joe Donnelly, anymore. So you follow Mayor Pete and you shake your head. But I look and I think of how blessed we have been. Governor Kernan has been a mentor to me, has led our state through some of the most difficult times, and is kind of like the leader of not only this whole community, but so many parts of the state. And Mayor Lickey, who we see extraordinary things happening with Mayor Pete right now, and Mayor Pete would be the first to tell you that the guy who set the table and set the plate was Mayor Lickey with all of his hard work. And then I see Murdy Coleman, Lynn's wonderful wife, and I say, Murdy, it's all flowers and sunshine, no problems at all. Just ask my wife. But we're here for a joyous day, for an amazing event. It's a huge crowd that's here with us today. And you look, and it's a reaffirmation of everything that's good in our country. Hard work, dedication. I look at Murdy and Lynn. Lynn was a South Bend policeman for over 20 years. And in that job, you never know. You hope, but you never know if you're going to come home safe that night. And Murdy bore that every single day when she gave him a hug and sent him on his way. And so when Lynn talked to me about this, Lynn said, look, with that kind of burden and that kind of responsibility, we can do this. We can do this every single day. Because who Lynn Coleman is going to stand for is that working person out there who just wants to make a few more bucks in their paycheck, who wants to take care of their son or their daughter or their family so they can get a little bit bigger house, have a little bit better shot at the American dream. That's why Lynn Coleman is running for the United States Congress. I see our friends in labor here who have been always dedicated to making sure everybody has a chance. You know, when I first started serving in Congress in 2007, the minimum wage then is the minimum wage today, almost 9 years later. I think the American people need a raise, and I think Lynn Coleman thinks the American people need a raise. Just so that everybody has a chance to share in the American dream. I think our vets and our military members need to receive the treatment and the care and the love and the dedication they deserve, and Lynn Coleman will provide that as our U.S. Congressman when he's elected to the United States Congress. I've been blessed to count Lynn not only as a friend, but as an advisor, who through some of the toughest decisions was kind enough to sit with me and grab a cup of coffee and say, here's what I think. And his advice always focused on how we can make our country stronger, how we can make the lives of our citizens better, of our farmers in all the other counties of this district, and our farmers here, that they have a shot at the American dream and to pass that farm on to their kids. To the small business person down in Peru or over in Plymouth who's trying to make sure that they can grow their business and have success. Lynn Coleman understands that because he worked hard every single day of his life. And so I am looking forward to the chance, to the opportunity, to the future, where when I walk down the halls of the United States Capitol, down at the end of the hall at the United States Capitol, I'm at one end, you'll be at the other end, and when I head down there, I will get a chance to see Congressman Lynn Coleman. Let me introduce to you the next member of the United States Congress from the 2nd District of Indiana, Lynn Coleman.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so very much for being here. Now, let me do this. Where's Tim at? Tim, where you at? Okay. I have a script, and I'm going to do it. But for those of you that know me, I'm not a script person, okay? So let me do some things Lynn's way, and then we'll do that way, and we'll go home. Thank you very, very much for being here. You don't know how pleased I am to see all of you in this room. Before I go any further, rather than you standing over there, will you please come over here and join me and just stand with me here? It's always good to have people that support you, standing with you, and rather than having them to my side, I wanted them behind me. Actually, what I could have did is I could have turned around like this and had all of you behind me, because all of you at some point have supported me also. And I am extremely, extremely grateful for that. To all of you, individually and collectively, thank you very, very much for who you are and what you've done and what you've been in my life. And I could probably go across this room and point out different people that have made and played significant roles in my life to help me to be who and what I am today. And for that, I am internally grateful and always will be. Never thought I'd be here. Before I go any further, let me tell my wife, thank you very, very much. You know, I made that mistake once. I was at the Century Center at the Hall of Fame, and there was probably 500 people in the room, and I stood up and I acknowledged everybody in the room except for this lady here. That's been 6 years ago. And I promised and vowed I would never do that again. So to you, Ms. Coleman, thank you very, very much, and I love you. To the rest of my family, my sister, my brothers, my extended family, all of you, my friends, co-workers, childhood friends, all of you, and enemies if there be any. Thank you very, very much for sharing this time with us today. I stand here extremely humbled proud, and more than anything, blessed to have the opportunity to be here today. If somebody had told me in 1972, when I graduated from high school, that one day I would be standing in a building named after one of my best friends in life. In fact, he was probably more of a brother to me, the Charles Martin Youth Center, getting ready to acknowledge my candidacy for United States Congress of the United States, I would have never in my wildest dreams believed it. Probably wouldn't even been able to conceive it. But here I am. And thanks be to God for this opportunity. For those of you that might not really know me, let me just share with you a little bit. I was born and raised here in this town. Grew up on the far west side of town, little community, little neighborhood that we affectionately call the Lake. I was one of 6 children. I was number 4 of the 6, born to my parents, James and Virgie Coleman. Had an opportunity to go to school at Harrison School. Proud graduate of Washington High School. Yeah, how about them Panthers? 2 weeks after high school, thereabout, had an opportunity to get hired. My mom and I, both of us, the same day, got hired at A&M General. We made Army trucks. We worked on the 2.5-ton Army truck line. We were on the assembly line. She was on one side and I was on the other side, about 20 feet apart. She worked harder than any man in the plant. Mom was a little tougher than I was. A lot tougher, actually. After about 1.5 years of working in the factory, I messed up my back. Couldn't work anymore. Had to have major back surgery. Ended up being on disability. Because of my disability, had the opportunity, I'm blessed, to go to school. Begin to take some classes at IUSB through a program with vocational rehabilitation here in South Bend. Went to school, took some classes at IUSB, and it sort of changed my life forever. After I'd done that, I began to get involved and be a part of different things in the community. When I went to school at IUSB, it was my hopes and dreams to be a juvenile probation officer. Didn't work. Lo and behold, 1977, I was fortunate enough to join the South Bend Police Department. 23 years service of South Bend Police Department. Probably 23 of the best years of my life. Had the opportunity to work in uniform patrol, spent some time working in gang crimes, was able to create a juvenile division for the police department, and retired as a division chief thanks to Governor Joe Donnelly. After retirement from the police department, I joined the staff of Mayor Stephen Licking as one of his assistants. I was able to work on youth issues. I was a liaison with public safety and had the opportunity to be the coordinator of the Mayor's Neighborhood Task Force. Currently, I'm employed with Memorial Hospital as a community liaison with trauma services working in a violence prevention program. After nearly 40 years of service, working and volunteering in this community, I am not ready for retirement. There's still a little left in the tank. This is what my life and career has been about, serving the community I love and bringing people together to try to get things done. But sadly, that's not what's happening in Washington, D.C. Congress is filled with too many politicians willing to put themselves and special interests first, even at the expense of our children and families. I'm running to bring Hoosiers and their values to Washington, D.C. As mentioned before, I'm what I think to be a common sense leader, somebody that's willing to put politics aside to focus on the real issues and trying to come up with solutions to them. That's what I've done my whole life, and that's what I plan to do as a member of the United States Congress. In these uncertain times when our economy still has not yet recovered and our country is fighting terrorism at home and abroad, we need Congress to work together. We need a Congress that's willing to put American people and businesses first and to stop threatening a government shutdown whenever they don't get their way. We need a Congress that will strengthen Social Security and Medicare instead of voting in a way to weaken them. We need a Congress that will help to increase wages and grow our economy. We need a Congress that will control the high cost of college degrees so that our kids can get an education that they deserve and that they're going to need to have without piling up a lifetime of debt on them. I'm going to spend the next 11 months of my life campaigning, spending time throughout the 2nd District in this campaign, talking to people from the north end to the south end to the east and the west, trying to find out from them and listening to them at what their problems and their issues are. And then we want to make sure that this campaign is not about me. This is not about Lynn Coleman. I've done enough now that if I chose to, I could go in the corner and sort of rock this thing out now, okay? But again, there's work to be done. And I'm willing to try to do the work. And so it's not about me, but it's about you. It's about you, the citizens in these communities that care, that want something, that want to be able to have a better life. And so I want to go to Washington, D.C. on your behalf and to work for you. South Bend. South Bend and this part of the state has been extremely good to Lynn Coleman, have allowed me to grow, to learn, to live, and to become the man that I am now. And I am extremely grateful for that and will never, never be able to pay you for all that you've done for me. But now, this very day, I asked you to continue to give me the opportunity to serve you, our community, and the northern part of Indiana by giving me your voice and letting me take your voice to Washington, D.C. And I promise you today that I will be that servant and that voice that you deserve to have as I serve you in Washington, D.C. Thank you very, very much for coming. We appreciate who and what you are. And let's go get them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. All right. Now, for y'all that really know me, you know that, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Andy. But y'all know I don't get into that either. Thank you. I appreciate it. For those of you that are here, if you would please take time before you leave. As it was mentioned before, we cannot do this without all of you. Okay, and so we need you to knock on doors, we need you to make phone calls, we need you to share with your family, with your friends, your co-workers, that you ask someone else to please support this candidacy and this campaign. For us to be able to find you and to know where you are and to ask you to help us, we need you to please do a couple things. Go on the website, ColemanForCongress.com, and register so that we know who you are and where you are. For those of you that are young and do the Facebook thing, follow us on Facebook so that we can share with you. For those of you that are a little more senior and might not do that, you can reach us at Post Office Box. So there's a couple of us that still do that, paper and pencil. 165 South Bend 46624. There's a sign-up sheet here in the room. Please take time to sign up on there so we know who you are and where you are, and know that between now and November the 8th, 2016, we will be in touch with each and every one of you at some point. Again, thank you for being here. God bless you, and God bless you in the United States of America.